That feels like, yeah. Yeah, no, that's not my environment.
I hear you. I hear you, sister. I know, like, nope, that's not it. Yeah. So I'm just setting it up to see the folks are coming into the room.
Awesome.
Yay. Everyone's excited. Like, Julia Bullock. Julia Bullock. She's a star. She's a star.
No.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh man, it has been wild though this
Yeah.
past 2 weeks. I mean, because I also am talking to a lot of young artists who are just seeking advice right now, and also just needing to process whatever they're going through, and as they're getting requests as well,
Mm.
from my colleagues. Even it's just like, do you think this opportunity is worth doing, or is this abuse of my time? It's like, yeah, we got to talk through all that. I mean, and honestly, we really all should have been talking through all that at the start of COVID, when that all erupted in the States and in Europe, because yeah, all of us were being put in for many requests.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And not just, it was the first month that was like sing, 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 sing. And then, George Floyd's murder and, all the things that were happening. Then it was like, oh God, the world has imploded. And now we need to hear what you have to say. We want you to sing. And now we have to talk to people and,
yeah,
heal.
yeah. But I was really I mean, Karen, it has been so amazing though being with you on these two panels thus far already, with LA Opera and then Long Beach. Yeah, I don't know. One thing that's really surprised me, I wish it didn't feel like a surprise, but it did, is that there are so many artists who are primed and ready to talk and communicate, and are thinking like very comprehensively about
Mm-hmm.
everything that's going on. And that has been amazing to witness. Like, that has been the most incredible thing to sit and watch and listen to on all of these panels. Because you're right, most of us, yeah, we're just engaging in our craft, which is so rehearsed. So then to see us all, I mean, yeah, we all, I think, sure have like kind of not talking points for ourselves, but we definitely have things that we want to share very specifically. But yeah, we're all riffing.
Yes, absolutely. I think we talked about that briefly in St. Louis last year when we were like getting to know, because we worked together before, in Australia, but we
Yeah,
never
Australia. Oh my God, it feels like
Australia, remember that? I was looking
so
for
long ago.
pictures the other day.
Beautiful. That was a beautiful time. That was my first Porgy and Bess.
Yeah.
First and only. First and only.
Listen, I don't mind. I don't blame you. Clara is like, get this baby out of my arms. Oh no! And then by the time you throw it to Bess, you're like, oh, you're done.
It's over.
It's over. Yeah, that's how it is. But
That's how it
that's how it is. I did one Clara, and I was like, never again. This was the words. But no, we were talking in St. Louis, and I remember we were talking about advocacy and talking about I was saying how impressed I was, and how, your arts positions in various organizations. And I was like, that's something that I would love to do. And then we were talking, and you were like, why don't people call you? And I was like, I don't know. And
Well, because I also didn't know that about you. And I think that's, again, I don't know. Are you getting calls now?
I mean, interestingly enough, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But the calls that I want are not happening the way
Okay.
that I would like them to happen, in a
Mm.
way. So yeah, we could talk about that, a different time. But
Fine.
yeah, but good stuff, good stuff. People that I didn't think were paying attention, are paying attention in a way, and open, you know. And I've always been having the same conversations. I've never not spoken my mind. If anybody knows
Right.
me, they know, how I feel about that. But anyway, I want you to talk about how you got into this crazy ass business.
We have to go all the way back there.
You don't have to, if you want to, but there's so many people that that want to know. You know, they know you
Oh,
as this, you know, this young, incredibly interesting artist, you know, who is
mm,
an immense interpreter with this beautiful voice. And it's like, how do you get to that point? You know, so many people don't understand the journey.
mm. Well, how did I get involved in music? I mean, I got involved in music early through dance, I'd say.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and through expressing, yeah, expressing myself through my body, through movement. Um, and then, yeah, I did a lot of musical theater all through my youth.
Hmm.
Shout out to the Muni and to the St. Louis Black Rep.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, and I was starting to take voice lessons. Did not take them seriously at all. They were just these women in my life, not just, they were women in my life serving as mentors.
Mm.
And, but I didn't practice, you know, I didn't, I had no interest in,
Good for
I didn't
you.
well, you know, I couldn't, also at a young age, your body isn't even ready necessarily to coordinate
Hmm.
properly, right?
Absolutely.
Um, and I was not ready to be taught. But I love performing, you know, and I was starting to take. I went on and off with voice lessons a lot. I was like, yeah, I want to be a singer. No, I hate singing. I'm never singing again.
Hmm.
And then my stepfather gave me some recordings of his favorite performances, including Kiri Takanawa and Janet Baker, Renee Fleming, Regine Crespin. Um, oh my gosh, Kathleen Ferrier. I mean, yeah, the list really goes on and on and on. Lorraine Hunt Lieberson, though, of course. And this is my introduction to Peter Sellers, was at this time.
Yes.
And I watched all of his productions on like this 12 by 12 inch television screen in my parents' house. And my life was changed.
Mm.
My life was changed. And I would turn on the volume really, really high, putting on out, you know, any CD, and look at through the booklets, reading the translations and yeah, it just changed my whole life. Um,
Mm.
and then I wanted to at that point. I had a teacher at that time who said I should apply for Opera Theater St. Louis's high school program, Artisan Training.
Hmm.
I did that for 2 years. I applied to Eastman School of Music, and yeah, got pretty much burnt out by the time I left there. Uh,
So you did your undergrad at
I
Eastman
did my undergrad at
and you
Eastman.
got burnt out.
I did. I did. I think I just, also, it's very hard when you're young and in school. There's a lot you're sorting through. At least I was. I was just sorting through a lot personally.
Hmm.
And that influenced my voice, that influenced my ability to, again, learn and even practice. And I was a fine student, but it's like, it was, yeah, yeah, I was burnt out. I was burnt out, but I was so glad that I applied to Bard's vocal arts program, their graduate vocal arts program.
Bard.
And because Bard, yeah, Bard College.
Yes.
And that was founded by Dawn Upshaw. Now it's being run by Stephanie Blythe.
Yes, my girl. Yes. Yes,
Oh,
that's my
she
girl
is
in
so,
every way. I
I know
just talked to her
everyone's,
the other day.
oh,
So
you did,
yeah, not on the show,
everyone
but just on the phone. Yeah.
loved it. Yeah, everyone's just like, oh, she's such a mensch, but she is. She's such a mensch. She's just, yeah, she's like no nonsense and full of fun simultaneously.
Yes, yes. That's the kind of people we want. That's the kind more of that. Yes.
Yeah. But Bard was a totally different experience than Eastman. I'm so grateful for every place that I went to school, but Bard really was thinking about the whole singer
Mm.
and training holistically. Um, so there was just lots of poetry study, and even so in rep class, you know, it was not like, okay, we're going to look at some Debussy settings, but it was like, okay, we're going to look at all of the poetry of Verlaine, not all of the poetry, but a lot of the settings of poetry of Verlaine, and go through multiple composers. We looked at Emily Dickinson, Goethe, and it helped me start thinking more thematically, or maybe just schematically about programming myself. And it also helped organize my mind in terms of like how I could start doing research.
Yes.
One thing that was really important at Eastman, and I know I've shared this multiple times and interviews and conversations, but at Eastman, during my early weeks there, my teacher compared me to Josephine Baker. And that is when I first started researching her, was while I was still in school. But I was so conflicted about that comparison, because when I went into classical music, and this has to just deal with my own identity issues growing up, mixed and with a lot of insidious racism in St. Louis, I did not want to be considered a Black person at all, let alone a Black soprano. So the comparison to Josephine Baker was really triggering for me, but I am so glad that it happened, because it helped me, one, like my self-guided research started there. And also it began the process of me really dealing with my identity and taking ownership of my Black heritage, Black culture, and singing about it, putting it on stage. And that is what eventually gave me courage to talk about it.
Right. Okay. I get it. I understand that. Yes.
Yeah. And you know, my father, my biological father, he was alive until I was 9, and I have the most amazing memories with him. And he was like deeply involved in the civil rights movement. But yeah, I think he died when I was 9, which is right at a time when you're starting to formulate your identity.
Absolutely.
And it just vanished.
Wow.
And unfortunately, because of just family tension, this is very personal, but family tensions that arose at that time as well, the connection with my Black side of my family just fell apart. But then again, like when I started traveling to sing, they would travel to come hear me sing, and that's how we started to.
Right.
That's right, and like we started reconnecting that way, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. Music does really bring people together, Karen. It does.
It really does. It really does. I think about, how when we get back into the space, into the theater where we can just commune or even just sing together outside, that's going to be a cathartic kind of transformative time for so many people, to connect with people like that. But that's amazing. And music is such a part of Black culture. It is like at the root of of the culture. Music, food, dance. That's why I say when people do Porgy and Bess and there's no dancing, I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no dancing. Like, that's stupid. But anyway, go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
No, I was actually, sorry, just sidetracking, thinking about being on stage again after so many months of not. It's like, I hope I'll be able to hold it together.
I bet you won't.
I bet you won't. How much money are you putting on that? Okay, we need to set up a pool and see how many people have breakdowns on stage.
Exactly. How many people are just going to completely fall apart?
That'll be, I feel like somebody could earn some big money that way, Karen.
Yes.
The only money we'll have earned is betting on each other's emotions.
Exactly. And I want to hear immediately, as soon as you get off the stage, you text me. Be like, girl, It didn't. I just fell apart. I just fell
Oh,
apart.
because yeah, it is because you're massaging an emotional muscle out there, and
Yeah.
that intensity level cannot be, intensity level with hundreds or thousands of people watching can't be faked.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
No.
anyway,
Anyway,
where was I? Where was I in my
we're
journey?
talking about bar. I know. We're talking about bar. You're talking about connecting with your family.
My family,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah. So after Bard, I knew because I would travel to New York. It was part of the curriculum, traveling to New York every week for our voice lessons.
mhm.
And I mean, first off, I just have to say, I loved living in upstate New York and being in the Hudson Valley. It was still like some of the happiest memories of my life.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, being in New York was super intense. I can't say it was wonderful, but yeah, just going in for the day was really intense. Um, but I knew after Bard that that was the next place I needed to go.
Mhm.
And I didn't care whether I was either going to go to Juilliard.
Mhm.
I just made this decision within myself. Either I was going to go to Juilliard or I was just going to go to New York and try to make a network myself. But I didn't want to enroll in another program. I was sort of ready for a pre-professional program, for lack of a better word. And I felt that Juilliard was, besides the fact that my teacher also taught there, felt like the place to be.
Mhm.
Um, but I had already gotten my first job through a friend of mine at Bard, singing Pamina, traveling all over South America.
Wow.
And we ended in Mexico actually, but and in a production by Peter Brook, theater director.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, I entered Juilliard a couple of months late. um, but they had incredible coaches, and again, like I now looking back, man, almost every single major professional relationship I have, even the ones that are like really lasting, they came out of auditions at that school or people that I met through that school.
Right. So you did your master's at Juilliard then.
I did my graduate diploma at Juilliard, which I did not complete
Okay.
because I did not complete a class. I did not finish my music theory. I was in the middle of penning Little Vixen. I didn't want to write 10-page papers.
All right.
So I didn't complete that class, but I already had a master's, so I could still apply and was accepted into the artist diploma program at Juilliard.
Okay. Okay.
Karen's like, don't talk to
No,
these people
listen.
about the fact that you have incompletes in your
No, it's fine.
the same thing at
Listen.
Eastman. Also, an incomplete in a class.
Uh-huh.
I just, I don't know why I couldn't be bothered, but I just, because I
I
really enjoyed the class. It was just like the finishing up.
mm-hmm.
Something was going on in my life, and I just
They should just
couldn't
give it.
complete.
They'll give it to you. Give it to her. They'll give you an
Uh,
honorary doctorate. So forget it. Who cares? You're singing. Who cares at this
that's
point?
right. I am singing.
Yeah.
But while at Juilliard, and I was there for 4 years, but I was still almost every month. My first years in New York, like year or two in New York, I tried to take a job every month and negotiate so that I could pay my rent. So I was trying to just break even, like pay my rent and my food. So I'd take like 1 or 2 jobs a month to do that. But then I applied for the young concert artists. Applied for young concert artists, and YCA changed my entire life. They gave me my first recital tour in North America. That is where I really started to stretch. I mean, I was already working on um, my programming skills, I guess, at Bard,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely at Bard, I was starting to explore with that. But that first recital program with YCA is where I took a big risk, and that's the first time I sang Josephine Baker's songs.
Right.
That's also the first time I sang. Yeah, the entire second half of that program was dedicated to speaking about being a Black woman and feeling demoralized, feeling objectified. And
Wow.
I did it really pointedly.
Yes. As you
And
do, as you do.
as I did,
I love it though. You know I love you. I love you in every way. You know I do. So
well, part of the programming too, it's like I needed a way to guide myself through being on stage without a break. And how can I keep my mind occupied while also delivering material that I really love?
yes. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this I needed to sing about right then. And amazingly, the producer for Peter Sellers was there. I'd already worked with him on a project,
Mm-hmm.
but she was there that night, and she called Peter and told him about the recital. And then Peter called me soon after and said, if you want to keep talking about this subject matter, but if you want to focus on Josephine Baker, I want to give you a platform to do that.
Fantastic.
So that's how the Josephine Baker a portrait began, which eventually has turned into Pro Noir, and which we continue to develop with Tyshawn Sori. Amazing.
He is.
Yeah, I can't. I can't. I don't know. I won't even call him a jazzer, avant-garde jazzer. He's just a freaking tremendous musician and composer. And I mean, sorry, not that being a jazz musician is anything. It's just like he encompasses so many things.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't define himself, or at least I haven't heard him. He's kind of taken the labels away from himself as well. So
yes, that's beautiful.
yeah.
That's the only way now,
What?
That's the only way now.
It
That's
is the way.
Like,
It's
you're
the
not going to
way.
put me in a box. You're not going to put a tag on me.
That's
You're going to
right.
do what I do, and you're going to eat it, and you're going to digest it, and you're going to love it. That's
Yeah,
where I
or
am.
not.
That's
It's like,
right.
or not. And then just please walk out. I just
Yeah,
I don't
or
have time
not.
to deal.
Bye. Right.
And also at that recital though was Lee Mortimer,
Mm-hmm.
who ran the Met Live Arts, the program, the performing arts programming at the Met Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first time that she heard me sing and understood my programming.
Yes.
And yeah, that's how the Met residency came to be. And then yeah, here we are.
Yeah, right. But no, I mean, what a journey, because we even talked when we were talking in St. Louis last summer, we talked about how, my generation, which is just right before yours,
Yeah,
not that far.
it's
not that far, right? I mean, look at this face, honey. Yes, not that far.
Karen.
No, but I mean, how we were not encouraged. Some people were, like a few people. You have the Misha Bruger Gossmans and and a few other people, but or you had to have a specific kind of voice and able to in order to tell your story. But if you were training for the traditional operatic career in that way, if you had other things that you'd like to do, it was not encouraged. It was like racehorse, just keep going. The Met, La Scala, Berlin.
What do you think that is? Why do you think that was? Because it's like when I look at least the singers that I adore, it's like they sing such a diverse range of repertoire. Yes. So when did I'm still confused about why that started, the strict like confinement. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange.
Fascinating, right? Well, I think part of it is because that's what we all aspire to do. We all aspire to be the, like the Leontine's or whatever whatever artist, you know, Brigitte Nielsen, whatever artist inspired you in that way. You know, we all wanted to make a certain kind of sound. And when you made a certain kind of sound, you were say, oh no, you can only do this type of stuff. Or, you know, you start getting into these categories where it makes it easy for people to place you. You know, I remember singing for YCA and they said, oh no, you're an opera singer. I remember going to the finals and Steve, oh God, what's the man? He just passed away, right? The guy who was running the organization. I can't remember. No. I'm getting my organizations mixed up. But anyway,
it's okay.
They were really like, you know, I was singing the big Strauss songs and the big, you know, and the competition for them. They're like, oh no, you should just focus on opera. And I'm like, but there was a woman who influenced me, Jessie Norman, who sang everything. You know, she curated her own programming. She sang Wagner, she sang, you know, cabaret and all of these things and recitals. And I always push to do recitals all the time throughout the year for myself. I create those opportunities, but it wasn't something that was massaged and you know, in me as a younger singer was to do diverse things. It was always like sing Verdi, sing Mozart, sing, you know. And so now that I'm on, you know, this side, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to create my own things. And we talk about how to curate your own projects and how to, you know, I'm learning all of those things now, but it wasn't always encouraged earlier on. And the other singers could have different experiences, but, you know, personally for myself, you know.
So wait, have you already told everyone your story on this show?
No, I have not. And this is not my time. This is your time, lady.
It's called KikiKonversations, and this is where I want the conversation to go.
Boo,
no?
boo, boo. No, but okay. So I want you to talk about Peter Sellers and talk about that relationship because, well, first of all, he is incredible, right? We grew up looking at his work, you know, that he did, and he's very passionate about singers of color, Black singers, you know, and giving them a vehicle. But I think for you specifically, like, please talk about that relationship and how important it is to have a creative partner in that way. Because I came to see you do Indian Queen. You forgot when you were with Noah.
I've blocked that out clearly.
Oh, okay.
When? In London?
In London, you and Noah were in that show together.
It was in sort of a shady place at that time. I'm sorry, Karen.
That's okay. It was a brief meeting. I was there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, no. Actually, I was really proud of those performances. Peter. You're right. I like that you call it a creative partnership, I guess, because you know, when I first met him and started working with him, I revered him so much, and all that I wanted to do was please the man. But you know, as just life continued to happen, I guess, and I was still working with him, it's like the challenges that I was starting to face were interfering with my ability to work. And I eventually just had to tell him I'm going through a rough time. You know, and he presses a lot in rehearsal, but he doesn't press for personal information unless it's shared. And he sat me down really calmly, and this was in London. And he said, you know, Julia, my job as a director is to set the tone in a room. And if you don't bring all of yourself into the room, I'm not sure what to do. I can't do my job. And don't abandon any part of yourself. You don't have to play the part of any perfect being. Right. It's all of the challenges and the working through that it's part of what makes you the artist you are. And I just really appreciated that he said that, because I really, up until that moment, I was trying to put on a good face through every rehearsal, through every voice lesson. It's like, really, it was very hard for me to just come in whatever state I was in and let myself be guided.
Yeah.
I wanted to prove that I had it together. It was part of that. It's part of, yeah, that it was the performing off stage as well as on stage.
Mm-hmm. That's a part of the job.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly, you're right. It is a part of the job. It's a part of a way to protect yourself. But it's like, how do you, when I talk about a creative partner, again, that's why I just love you said that. It's like, those are the people, those partnerships that are genuinely creative and generate and challenge you and help you grow. It's like, you can bring all of your full self into that space, and like an incorporated self or not. It can be a totally dissociated self into that space.
Sometimes you have to do that to protect yourself.
Well, right. The mind does that.
Yes.
But it's like, but working through that and just being open with that and knowing you can do it safely. And there aren't a lot of environments where you can do that safely. And I will say, as challenging as Peter as makes I mean, the work is challenging with him always. He pushes me to limits. I yell at him often, and we laugh hard. But it's like, I still feel safe. And yeah, now when I'm thinking about I just hope any young artists that I work with also, it's like, these are really vulnerable, precious times that we are considering and looking at with each other. And yeah, just take such mindfulness and care, not caution. Like, I can't say it's cautious, but just real care.
Yes, that's a big difference.
It is,
because you cannot make art cautiously. You know, you've got to be in it and you got to go for it and you got to go with intention, or, or just don't touch it. Just don't touch it, because you can tell the pieces that are not done that way, and those who but and I know you're presented with quite a few projects all the time. How do you choose which ones? Because sometimes we have to do things just because, right? We have to do things because of the moment. We have to do things because of the company. We have to do things because it pushes the career along. But how do you choose, what projects you want to do and with whom you want to do them with?
I hate to say that I've just had to trust my instincts on that. But even when I was younger, when I first moved to New York, like I said, I took 1 or 2 jobs a month. I was still, I guess, discerning about that. And it's not like I had all these offers, but if there was material I genuinely could not wrap my mind around, and I was like, I'm not going to enjoy the hours I'm going to spend preparing this. I'm not going to do it. Right. But that's a privileged position, right? It's like, there have been a few times, yes, where I've certainly done jobs just to earn money. Or just have something else to do. Like, I just needed something to do.
Yes, because you're right, exactly. Because again, if you're having the traditional career where you're like, I'm gonna sing Trovatore, I'm gonna sing and True Love, I'm gonna sing Pamina, and you could just do that consistently. You can do that season after season after season, and you look up in 5 seasons, you've been all over the world singing the same, 5 roles. But when you are a specialty, crafting your own things and doing your own, creating your own opportunities and not doing the traditional track, and then it takes time to create those things, to build. It takes years, months and years to build these. When I saw you do Zauberland, I was so happy that I got to see that show that you just did in New York, Lincoln Center,
the White Light Festival.
Yes. I mean, it was, and I hope you get to still do it. I know COVID kind of you know, pushed everything, took it off a track. But I mean, how long did it take? And talk a little bit about that project and how long it took. And I'm going to look at some of these questions while you
Oh,
answer.
fine. Okay. Oh, Karen, why am I looking at the past today?
I know, but but the people I want people to know, Julia.
Uh,
Just a
all
little,
right.
just a little bit. Come on.
No, okay, just come on, talk a little longer. So Tauberland, you can tell I'm really comfortable with you.
Because you would be like, no, it's done.
I'm being so combative. I never do this in
That's
interviews.
good, because it's me. It's KikiKonversations. That's how we do it around here.
Okay, so Tauberland, that was a very special project. And that, so the man who's composed the music for that heard me for the first time singing Indian Queen, but in Madrid, and at Teatro Real. And at the time, he ran the Aix-en-Provence Festival. He wanted me to work with Katie Mitchell, the director, on a different project, but I was not available for it. And then another year or so went by, and he decided that his first major compositional project. He's an organist, but he always composed. But his first major compositional project for a vocalist was this piece, and it was pairing Schumann's Dichterliebe with this new song cycle, and the poetry was all written by Martin Kremp, who's a British playwright, poet, and he's written also a lot of libretti. Incredible poetry. Oh my God. Oh
Yes.
Man, just
yes.
Whoa. So, and Katie Mitchell, she's now turned into, I will call her a mentor. We only work together on this one project, and we have some things down the road planned. But I've only worked with a few women directors also. And
you gotta change that too.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like, because the women with whom I've worked on stage classical music, it's like, yeah, I hate to say the goals are different because we're still building a show, but there's some other process that starts to happen.
Yes.
The hierarchy of it is different. Yeah. I don't have to fight. I never feel like I'm I gotta prop myself up, or even like create little microaggressions myself in order to ensure that I'm not, just to let them know, like, I'm not willing to be dominated. It's like, that's some sort of, I started working that into my rehearsal persona. I'll put it that way, because it was like trying to create space for myself. I acted, and I guess so. They're not just unprofessional, but these little kind of microaggressions, trying to make sure that I felt confident, which is weird. It's like, when I'm thinking back on that too, it's really, that's part of the systemization of how you keep perpetuating really damaging behavior.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I'm so now totally sidetracked, but Katie Mitchell, and working on Zauberland, and the whole premise, talking about this woman's, in a very abstract way, shifting from a move during the Syrian war from Syria to Germany. And wow, it was really, I did a lot of research about all that as well.
It's a tremendous show. It's a tremendous show. And we talked about it being a big show, because I think you did 3 back-to-back. Was it 3?
Oh, that was, I think it was 2 or 3, but yes, every place we went, it was 2 or 3 back-to-back, because it was, there were 4 silent actors on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on stage nonstop for almost 90 minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with very few just breaks even to take a breath for anything.
Anything. You never left the stage. Did you?
No,
Maybe
no.
you were changing on the stage, and they were,
Yeah.
the sets. But again, that's a skill that you have to build. It's a muscle, right? The
Yes, right.
Wagnerians know how to do it because that's just a requirement for the, or if you sing Butterfly, the requirement is that you are going to be on stage all night long. But when you're building that muscle and building that stamina, that's also a part of it emotionally, especially with an artist like yourself who gets so connected to what they're doing and saying. You're exhausted by the end of the night, you're spent, and then to have to get up and do it the next night and then do it again and then get on a plane and get off and do it again, or whatever.
Karen, you're making me not miss singing at all.
I'm sorry. Listen, we have to tell the kids before you get in, don't tell me no one told you. We have to tell the people, and then the people who come and hear us and pay money to see it, like, this is a real job. This is not a hobby, y'all. This is a job.
It's work.
Yeah,
it's work,
but beautiful work. So someone asked, Joelle asks, are there any safety nets that you have with Peter that you wish you had with other directors? What does that look like?
Safety nets.
Yeah. That was a good question.
Okay.
Because he's going to take care of you in a way.
Yes, no, it's true. And I know, we do have a commitment to each other, I would say. But I'm trying to think about that I wish I had with other directors. I don't know. It's weird. I've worked with him so much now, and okay, I need to think a safety net. It's very hard for me to actually. Maybe it's not actually. There is no safety net with him. It's like I don't. And when I say I feel safe with him, working with him always. But I know I'm going to be putting myself through the ringer when I work with him.
Yes.
And there's something really extraordinary about giving myself over to that process.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing what comes out on the other side. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I still know how to set boundaries for myself. I still, the preparation, the vocal preparation has to be on point. I mean, my just talk about physical stamina, mentally, sure, I definitely need to be strong and sound, yes, right. And available. Yes. But yes, I'm pushed to extremes with him, and there is something really awesome knowing that I will survive that process. and
yes,
and yeah.
Can be better for composers the same way. Compose working with John Adams, and is it the same thing?
Yeah, because with John also it's there's some of the things that he's written, I'm just they're freaking crazy. That's just or I will, and I've written him also. I'll look at a part of an opera. He wrote a Lady Macbeth aria in this most recent piece, Girls of the Golden West, which was different, counter opposite to the rest of the role. It was this hyper pointillistic, high screen. Just from high. I don't know how many high C's there were. 5, 6, high D, low. I think it was the whole range of the role was from a low F sharp to a high D flat. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. But in this one piece, I remember working on it and thinking this is the crazy. I was howling in laughter, hysterics, learning it but what was so awesome, it's these words are wild. Lady Macbeth is saying in this moment, take away all of my humanity so that I can do the most inhumane thing. Take away, and it's what is the mindset and then the voice that is willing to say that out loud? Take away.
Well, he wrote it exactly right.
It's totally right. But yes. there are other times where I'm looking like this is just never, that's
And you're
hysterical.
learning
This is
it.
never going to happen.
You're
But man, I learned so much about my voice, and it does happen.
of course it just happened. Yeah. He wouldn't have written it if he didn't know you could do it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's changed a few things from time to time, but I love with composers, like just seeing where the material will lead you. Sometimes it unlocks, it certainly has unlocked a lot for me. And then when I look at more traditional, sorry, I don't know, I'm putting on a voice for that, but I look at rep from the canon, or the already established canon. I also have less fear because it's like, my voice, I know that I am capable of having all of my voice available at all times if I need it to be. Now, I think over time, Karen, I know earlier we were talking about, or you were talking about this sort of honing in on repertoire, and I still, I mean, I look at other singers and envy them. I'm not gonna lie, because that is also a way to come to understand your voice and your person by doing something over and over again, and understanding every, it's like there's a knowing of yourself too, if that is something that you can do and makes you happy. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't love singing the established canon. I genuinely do. It's just also my career. The people who picked me up to work first, that wasn't the rep that they were working on. That's not what I worked on.
That's a thing. And you've set a table and a platform for yourself now, so that if a company or someone comes to you, say, well, I'd like to try whatever in the traditional canon you'd like to do. And I think that they would go with you. I guarantee.
We'll see if anyone's established at the end of all this.
Come on, people, get with it. Let's call the girl to do whatever she wants to do. So before we go into current events, because I want you to talk about what you want to talk about. And as you've talked about what I want to talk about.
I don't want to. No, I have no agenda here with you, Karen.
Oh, good. Sounds good. But creating with what suggestions would you give to other artists? And it doesn't have to be young artists, it could be established artists, on how to even begin to do the thing that we see you doing. How do you get the means to do, you know what I mean? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, I'll share something that Dawn Upshaw shared. I can't remember if it was an interview or a class actually that I was, I can't remember. But Dawn said the material, I hope I'm not misquoting her here, but the material that moves me, I hope will also move and move my audience. And we really can, as performers, as interpretive artists, it's really important to not edit yourself out of the process of creating. I know when I was in school, I thought, okay, poets and composers, writers were existing and on a higher realm than I was. And I'm not saying that I'm comparing myself to some of these greatest creative minds here.
Right.
But like, we are part of the creative process. And everything that these people created, everything they wrote about, was based on a human life experience, based on trying to process it in some way, at least just as far as I have been able to find out and what I've read about them or in letters or biographies. So that's how they created work. And it's like, well, I want to model myself after the process that those amazing creative minds put themselves through. Allowing myself to, how do I put all of myself into my work? How do I reflect upon and process the world and what I'm experiencing? And if the only way that you know how to organize that, or the only way you know how to give voice to that, is through music, use it.
Yeah.
But take the time to research, like the questions that you have, take the time to try to find those answers.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to be like conclusive.
Right.
But can you put yourself through the paces of and the vulnerable challenge of trying to find those answers and doing it in public,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And then finding the right director and librettist and, performing arts,
Sure.
organization that is going to allow you.
Well, and there's that, right. It's like, and also, I mean, when it comes to just, yeah, okay, like when you're talking the
Logistics.
logistics, yeah, the logistics. I knew environments. I would say I think I've always been good at understanding the environments that I've entered.
Mm-hmm.
I've been good at reading them. So I never entered major opera competitions because I didn't feel comfortable, and I didn't understand how they were run. It's like obviously everyone who enters had an amazing voice and put on beautiful. I mean, they did beautiful things, but I just couldn't. There was something about that process of being in an opera competition. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. I couldn't turn it on. I couldn't show
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In song competition, that felt different. And that, you know, so YCA, Naumburg, like
Mm-hmm.
I was already starting to do recital, right? I was doing recitals already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, know your environment.
Mm-hmm.
And for the people who like pick you up or sense you in those environments,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to just align yourselves with those people
Yes.
and
Align.
follow your, yeah, and just like follow your nose as
Yeah.
long as it feels, when I talk about intuition, like it
Mm-hmm.
feels safe and okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see where that leads you. Because you do right now, or at least up until this point,
Mm-hmm.
all of the places who give singers, performers platforms are the ones with the financial resources.
Yeah.
And or at least I felt I needed them.
Uh-huh.
Now it's an interesting time because there are no physical platforms to be on.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. So like, there's a few that are opening in Europe.
Yes.
Like, people are finding way, but even then, it's like it's different now, isn't it? So I am so excited to see what this generation is going to create when they don't feel they have to wait for anything or anyone
Yes.
to be noticed.
Absolutely. Listen, there's something so horrible about this time, but there's something so tremendously freeing and beautiful that is opening up. I see it opening up for myself, for other artists, for the art form, for everything. So it's
100%.
a time. So yeah. So what kind of music, like I keep asking the composers that I speak to, like what's the sound of the time, what's the, because there's so much transformation happening, it was
Yeah.
like we woke up and it was a different world, and when the Brown Baby recording that you put out a few weeks ago, I mean, it went crazy. People were calling me like, did you hear Julia's verse, did you hear Julia's, and it was so reflective of already what is in our story as
Yeah.
Black people, but brown people, so many people. It doesn't even have to just be about that, but like the music of the time and the current events, and like what is it gonna be like, what kind of art are we gonna be creating, what kind of art is the audience gonna accept, because they're not gonna accept the same stuff that they did before. They're gonna want more, I feel. More, so how do you feel about the next?
Yeah, I mean,
I know I asked like 5 questions. I always do that.
no. I'm just trying to think. It's like, so one reason I know, one reason that I don't characterize myself as a soprano anymore is because, and I'm now just thinking of myself as a classical singer,
Yes.
is because I am interested in singing classics. Like, I'm interested in singing material that I want to return to, and that I hope other people want to return to.
Mm.
And that's what I look for in repertoire as well. When I'm thinking about programming, I'm actually not thinking about then what's just talking to this minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the material that's talking for now, and then also reaching back from ages past.
Right.
And I don't know, projecting into the future some too.
Because that's what I think we have to. That's
yeah. So I'll be like the definition of classical music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can be busted open. I hope it is.
Yes, I hope it is.
Like, it's like, because I have certainly been talking about it. I know other performers have been talking about it, and this gets back to the thing of not limiting yourself in the repertoire.
Mm-hmm.
Singers not doing that, especially because what we're classical singer, you're singing. It's like I take that very literally.
Yes.
And that's because it's irrelevant of genre. It's irrelevant. The genre is irrelevant.
Right. The genre is irrelevant. And I think that that's going to color the way we do new works, color the way we program chamber music, the way we program, the leader albums, like all of these things, it's going to color and it's going to open up and the audience wants more. I think the classical, operatic, whatever audience, they don't know that they want more. They don't know that they need more until you feed it to them. And then they're like, oh, this tastes good. I like this. I'm serious, and it was interesting because when we did Fire, like when we did that and people, the response to it, although the subject matter was what it was, but people want more. They want more,
Well, and I don't know. I don't think I know any fan of opera who is only a fan of operatic music. I am trying to think.
Well,
no, really, because even they may be like serious fans of opera singers, but they'll still listen to Leontine Price singing jazz standards and dig it.
Right.
And even Birgit Nilsson, like she sang folk songs. She sang more.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Eileen Farrell, all those.
Yes.
Songs,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, Eileen Farrell. Oh my God.
I know. Tremendous. Like, come on.
Damn.
Almost like her, I always find her more interesting when she's not singing opera, because I love her operatic sound, but I really feel like I hear her soul when she sings this, the other things in a way.
So no, I have no idea what audiences or even myself what I'm seeking right now.
What do you want to say? Right.
But yeah, actually, you're right. Like, what do you want to say? This time, like, what do you want to say with the time that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. You got
and how do you want people to listen?
How do you want people to listen?
Oh, me? You're asking me now.
How?
How? Anyone else?
Oh, so what's the future for you, Ms. Bullock?
What's the future? Well, I will wash the new workout clothes I just purchased.
Yes.
Which I have not again.
Yes.
I have not gotten new workout clothes in legitimately 10 years. So this is basic.
Brava. Good for you.
So that's one thing in the future.
Yes.
I am thinking about how much I want to be traveling now. Or if I am traveling, how I will be doing that. Because you can talk. You can. I love performing so much, Karen. I just love it, and I would sacrifice almost anything and everything to get on stage. However, I still have always in my mind, it's like, what what, yeah, what's your responsibility here?
Mm.
Not just as a performer, but just as a human being on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I am thinking about my, yeah, just impact, right? It's like, what's, yeah, what's my impact? Not just the impressions I'm leaving.
Of course.
Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so I really, yeah, so what I'm thinking about, just traveling and the resources that I have to consume in order to get on the road so much and travel across the world. That's really coming into question right now. I'm not saying I, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give that up,
Mm.
but it's
No.
really on my mind.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
I feel you. I feel you.
yeah. And you know, I'm really enjoying, I have just a couple of students right now, and
Look at you.
Karen, it is like, it is the most beautiful, damn, I just love teaching. I love being there and empowering people with their voice.
Mm.
It's like, and trying to find, it's like, all right, let's find another way, let's find another tool, whatever it is. And and I've taught a lot of master classes, but to have some students that I'm seeing repeatedly and being there for the progress and the questions, and also seeing them come more to like self-realization and actualization, it's like, that
Yeah.
is the most amazing thing.
Oh, I know you were gonna be one day when you're done with all the traveling and all this stuff. You're gonna be a fine teacher. I know, and so much
Well,
to add. You
I'm
will.
still, because, well, I'm still learning myself, and I think the best, I've learned so much from every singer that I've worked with, whom I've worked
Yeah,
too.
you know, and I
It's,
can see you when I've
mm,
worked with you. I can see you taking it in.
mm,
I'm somebody who
mm.
watches everybody in the
You
spaces.
do, Karen. You're like,
I am.
mm.
I am. I mean, I love artists. I love singers. I love what I do. I love singing, but I love being in the room, in the space with all these people, the energy and the
Mm,
I'm always watching, but
mm.
I watch you and how you work and how you watch other people. It's yeah. Yeah, I count it as you know one of the best memories on stage working with you last summer when we were on the stage and you were there the whole time. Of course, that's your character, you know, and just to be in
Yeah.
that orbit with you and Devon and those times that we had, you know, we had our challenges, absolutely, but when it was right, when it was good,
Oh, we had our challenges
we
too.
had our
Yeah, we
challenges,
did.
but when it was good, girl, you know it was good. It was good.
It really was.
It was just
It
a
was.
wonderful
Okay.
space to see. But I won't hold you any longer. I don't know
We
if
did. We built
anybody.
a community out there.
We absolutely did. What we did,
Mm.
we made magic audience. Anyway, is there anything you would like to leave us with? Oh, your husband, who I love so much.
Oh,
We only see him, you know, tinkling the ivories.
oh yeah. What's in your future? Everything about me and nothing about the love of
I
my
know.
life. Oh my gosh. No, he's just, I am so in love with that man. I'm just so,
See, yes, you can have a career and have a life, people. Yes,
oh,
he loves
I
you.
mean, talk about, like, he was one of the most surprising, unexpected people to come into my life. And man, talk about a safe person and somebody who, where I did not, or whatever. It's like any part that I wanted to play in front of him, he was like, I'm here for it. Any role, sure, my love.
Oh,
Um, or if I had no energy, if I have no energy to do or be I can't craft anything. He's like, I'm right here. He's, he's just he's the most generous man. He
mm,
is so honest. He is so respectful. Um, and I tested whether or not, like, I tested whether or not he was super respectful. And he's the most respectful person I've ever met.
oh,
And it's, yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
yes.
Wow. I'm so grateful. I'm not going to cry
Very
on Kiki's convos.
I think I got some people that almost cry. I think 1 or 2 people cry, but
Kiki's like,
I held myself back from crying. Like, go ahead.
oh.
Yeah. I understand. People ask me all the time about Robbie, and I'm like, I don't know if I would still be doing it if it wasn't for him being like, you can do it. You can do it. Don't quit. You know, like if I say, I don't want to sing this role anymore. And he'd be like, do you see how the audience reacted? Girl, you know, get it together. Like it was great. And so, you know, just to have someone that is just that place to land and also that firm push at the same time, you know.
Yeah, both. No, and he said to me too, it's like, you know, anytime I'm musing on, well, it's okay if I'm just going to stop singing. It's like, I don't feel like you actually want that, but if you want that, anything, of course.
Yes.
It's just the allowance. And I hope I give that to him too. I think that I give that to him too.
I'll have him on the show and then he can tell his own story.
Yeah, that's true. He can tell his own story, but he's one of the most talented, physically articulate conductors I've ever seen. And how he views his position as a conductor is to be at service to the people who are there.
Yes.
And yes, he has a vision for how he interprets the music, but really he just wants to create an ability for people to communicate with one another. And you feel it. I mean, I've sung with him. You feel it.
You feel bad. You do you sing differently when you're working with your husband?
I don't know if it's differently, but again, talk about those, like just the risks you can take, safety net.
Yes.
Feeling like you can take risks.
Yes.
Yeah. And also because we take our time looking at music as well. We anytime we've performed together, we take a lot of time talking through it, and that's something that because of the way that schedules often work out when you're working with other, you know, in an opera production you usually have way more time, or in recital you have way more time because you're rehearsing a lot. But with orchestral music, you don't have a lot of time. It's like you have to make some quick decisions and you make a lot of assumptions, but it's so interesting to not have to make assumptions and just be like, we're all consciously going towards this thing together.
Yes.
That feels good. Like, that feels so good.
Absolutely. I'll see you there.
That's right. Let's live into it. Yes, I'll see you there.
Yes,
that's right.
Absolutely. Julia,
this has been awesome.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Oh, this is awesome. Please don't let it be like 18 months before now with this.
Yeah, Karen, I'll see you next week.
See you next week on another panel or some other, you know, situation. Maybe we can do a duet or something, you know, for the people. That would be interesting. Something fun.
It would be.
We'll think of something. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll be like everyone else, like, you know, with you on the screen over there, me over there, and Christian.
Like, hold on, let me move the mic a little further away from me.
No, it'll be like the ooh voice. That
that's fair.
the other voice.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I adore you. Thank you.
I adore you too.
Thank you.
You're amazing, Karen. I know that I've enjoyed standing 2 feet from you while you're singing, but it has been so awesome, like staring 12 inches from your face on the screen and listening to you talk, and also like so many hours over the past couple of weeks. It's really awesome. It's really energizing for me. I just need to tell you that.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
y'all. All right, y'all. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everybody. Next week we are Tuesday and Thursday again with 2 amazing artists. Can't tell you who they are yet, but stay tuned. We're going back to our regular KikiKonversations day next week on Thursday at 8, our time at 8. But this is a special day for our European people, which we're going to keep. We're going to keep that next month. We're going to keep, you know. Anyway, all right. Go to get some sleep. Tell your husband, and I'll see you all soon.
Same to your husband.
All right. Bye.